Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alif Norfarez. Today, I'm going to the presentation about my thesis. The title is A Descriptive Study on Internal Conflict in Twilight, a novel by Stephanie Mefer, downloaded from internet. So the chapter 1 is Introduction. First is background. Why do we need literature? What can we get from it? This question sometimes comes in our mind, especially from those who doesn't like literature. Literature itself is the written work as a manifestation of human and their life made creatively and beautifully with certain form, selections and collection of language. And then there are many kinds of literature. Uh, Prose fiction is one of the kind that written in prose form. There are three kinds of prose fiction. First one is short story, and then novelette and novel. This division is based on its length, complexity of the story, and development of characters and plot. Prose fiction use dialogue, narration, and description to convey story and character. Then I choose Twilight. Twilight is a modern American novel. It tells about a girl who leaves her mother in Phoenix to live with her father in Forks, Washington. Then she meets an handsome boy at school for whom she feels an overwhelming attraction and who she comes to realize he is not wholly human. And then since the story of the novel is extraordinary, and since the American novel got so many prizes, also since many people in Banjarmasin, especially most of my friends, know about this novel, I chose this novel to be analyzed in this thesis and took internal conflict as the problem limitation, since none of them know the internal conflicts which are there in the novel. Then the second one is problem limitation. The problem limitation in this thesis is what are internal conflicts in Twilight. And then the scope. The analysis of this novel concerned about the study of literature, especially about elements of novel, in this case, internal conflict. In the other words, the scope of this thesis is the internal novel that occur in novel. And then the objective. There are two significance of the study. They are theoretical benefit. It can be used as an example in literature class at English department, especially when they learn about conflict. And then practical benefit. It can help the readers of Twilight novel in the English department to understand the content of the novel. And then the significance and the objectives. The objectives of this study are knowing the internal conflicts that are presented in Twilight novel. The researchers can apply her knowledge that the researcher get from the literature class. The researchers can broaden her knowledge about literature, especially about internal conflict. And then last one is definition of K-term. The first one is novel. Novel is a result of creative work which show the unreality with the symbol from the reality itself. Then definition of twilight. Twilight is a period after sunset, the light from the sky when the sun is below the horizon. And in this thesis, twilight is a representation of unclear situation. And the last one is internal conflict. Definition of internal conflict is the conflict that takes place within the minds of characters. Then, chapter 2, review of related literature. First one is the concept of literature. Literature doesn't concentrate on particular area of knowledge. It is concerned with all aspects of man and the universe in their entirety. Every work of literature is about something. Literature is the written work as a manifestation of human and their life, made creatively and beautifully with certain forms. And then second is the nature of fiction and prose fiction. Literature is fiction. It describes prose works that tell a story. It may be short story and novel. All works in literature are fictional in the sense that the reader sets them apart from the fact of real life. Yet they have capacity for being true. And then prose fiction is kind of literature that written in prose form. There are three kinds of prose fictions: short story, novelette, and novel. This division is based on its length, complexity of the story, and the development of characters and plot. Prose fiction uses dialogue, narration, and description to convey story and character. And then the element of fiction. There are six elements such as plot, character, theme, setting, point of view, and style. The first one is plot. Plot is a set of events of storyline. And then second one is character. Character is the persons involved in the story. The third one is theme. Theme is the central idea of the story. And then fourth is setting. Setting is the time and place where the story happens. And then five is point of view. Point of view, it is the view from which the story is told. The last one is style. It is how the author tells the story using certain style of language. And the fourth one is the concept of novel. Novel is a prose fiction or tale of a fiction character of greater length than the short story. Novel is a picture of real life and manners and of the time in which it's written. Novel or narrative prose consists of intrinsic and extrinsic aspect. And the first one is intrinsic aspect, are aspects that build the story internally. They include subject matter, theme, point of view, plot, setting, character, and symbols. And then extrinsic aspect are aspects that influence the story externally, such as social, educational, and psychological aspect. And then the definition of internal conflict. Conflict is divided into two: external conflict and internal conflict. External conflict takes place between individuals or between individuals and the force of nature. In the other side, internal conflicts take place within the mind of characters. For instance, a character may have to decide between right or wrong. Sometimes, a character must deal with his or her own mixed feelings or emotion. That's called internal conflicts. And then chapter 3, methodology. The first one is type of research. This thesis uses library research. Since it depends entirely on the library contains, which cannot be controlled what the writer will find. The writer is expected to be able to collect and classify the information to valid and valuable information. And then the second one is method of research. This research use qualitative approach because the writer does interpretation to the data according to the function and the role of its relation to other elements. It means that the data are collected in the form of words. And then the thesis uses a descriptive method because the writer describes the internal conflicts in Twilight novel. And then the technique to collecting the data in this thesis is note taking. It means that the writers have to collect the data as much as possible. The verification will be carried out by keeping in mind the goal and the formulation of the problem. I will concentrate in the limited goal and problem. And then Since the text of the novel itself is the object of the analysis, it seems that textual analysis is the best method that can be used in this research. And the last one, in conclusion drawing, both deductive and inductive methods can be used. However, broad spectrum of conclusion can be obtained if the two methods are not satisfactory for the writer as he expects. After analyze this novel, I realized that, and then after I collecting the data and read the novel, I get the data. There are some internal conflicts that Bella has. Those internal conflicts are mostly about her fear. For example, when she afraid about what will happen to her and the Cullens when the other kind of vampire, Lawrence, Victoria, and James, came when they play baseball. The internal conflicts also arouse when she confused and dilemma in making decisions. For example, when she was bothered by four men at Port Angeles, she confused about what she could do to defend herself if those men tried to do something bad to her. And as dilemma is when she faced problem that forced her to choose one of the two decisions. For instance, when she had to choose to go to the dance room and sacrifice herself to save her mother, or stay at the hotel and wait for the Cullens to help her. And furthermore, the internal conflicts are also happens in Bella's mind when she wonder or worry about something. For instance, when she almost died in an accident in her school, she knows exactly that Edward is the one who saved her life, but she wonder why no one had seen him there or when she worried of how she can explain to Jessica about what happened to her and Edward in the night when they were at Port Angeles. So there are many internal conflicts in this novel that can be explained. And then in chapter 5, I give a conclusion and suggestion. From the previous chapter, I can conclude that the internal conflicts that Bella has happened when the first one, she worries about something. Second one, when she wonder about something. And the third one is she afraid about something, and then she confused about something, and also she dilemma in making decision. And then the suggestion in this study, the writer gave some suggestion. Those suggestions are for lecture of literature class. This thesis can be used as an example in the classroom, especially when they learn about internal conflict. For the reader, this thesis can be used to help them to knowing and understanding the internal conflict in Twilight novel. So that's all the thesis presentation from me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.